Hey everyone. So yeah, sorry if you're not seeing a picture of me yet. I'm in a car. The Wi-Fi is not the greatest. I'm just keeping my audio good for now. And but I'll be home soon, and I'm just sort of running the show. It's a logistical nightmare today. Needless to say, my daughter, who's got her permit, is driving me home right now, so that I can do this. And she's not quite sure how to get home for some reason, even though she takes this route every day of her life. So yes, that's where we are. What do we have, Wes? Anything you can bring up for a second?
Yeah, so
Every day of our life.
today, tonight at 7 o'clock, the Phillies will be playing in Washington, and so Bryce Harper will play against his old team. Now, the interesting thing is the Washington mayor put up a graphic with Bryce Harper as like Benedict Arnold. And they put up a picture of Benedict Arnold, put in Bryce Harper, I think, and made sure his name was on that. That's no big deal. For some reason, some Philly fans are enraged over that, but I think that's just good fun. The thing about it is the Nationals fans are not that overly rabid, and they're definitely going to have a video presentation of some sort. So I really don't expect that much fireworks there with booze and stuff. Actually, to put it another way, I expect them to act more mature than Islander fans with John Tavares.
Well, I have to say that, based on the response yesterday as compared to the game on February 28th was passive. But I have to say that Islanders fans could be the biggest group of cretins that I've ever encountered. Because honestly, again, this is not Tavares's fault. This was the fault of the organization and the GM, Garth Snow, basically wasting 7 or 8 years of his career because he couldn't build a team around him. And last night, there was some unhinged Islander idiot that was sitting next to the penalty box saying, "You lied to us. You should have told us, blah, 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 blah."
Yeah, I got to tell you, that berating, now I understand he didn't curse, but I'm telling you, in most NHL arenas, somebody would have gotten up and said, "Pipe down, idiot. You're ruining the game for me," even if you're an Islander fan. And the fact that the guy by the penalty box was just sitting and smiling, I didn't like that, because if that happened every day to every player, teams would complain. I know players are good sports about it, but that went over the line even without cursing, I felt.
Yeah, James, go ahead.
I mean, this is unfortunate. The problem is I don't know if this is ever going to change, right? I mean, you would hope that as time goes by, the ill will start to wear off a little bit. But the vitriol you're hearing and everything we've seen doesn't really seem to be abating anytime. Maybe it's just year one. But if I'm talking to friends of mine who are Islander fans, they most certainly feel duped. And we talked about blame the GM, blame management, blame them from not getting a commitment, and they could have moved away last year. But now maybe behind the scenes, he was telling them that he's going to stay. But nobody forced his hand by saying, look, we need a definitive answer. And if you're not going to, or you're wavering even a little bit, we need to do what's right for the organization. But if that happened, they still would have likely blamed from the fan base.
But the idea, he signed the kind of contract that he could be in control of his destiny. He doesn't have to be a good soldier and leave just to get the organization draft picks. Maybe he had reason that he didn't want to uproot his family. That's up to him. That's why you sign deals like that. Fans should understand. And someone like Clark Gillies should definitely understand, because he was on Sportsnet, and for weird reasons, some of them selfish, said on his bucket list he wants to drink from the Stanley Cup again, and he felt like John Tavares put him 2 or 3 steps back. And I was thinking, where was Clark Gillies when Garth Snow was doing a horrible job? He didn't put anybody around Jonathan Tavares. It's no mistake that I picked that Tavares would have a career year this year, because it was obvious he was going to be around great players on the Leafs. He was never around great players on the Islanders. Where was Clark Gillies for that?
Yeah, Matt Molson, P.A. Parento,
Andrew
Ladd, Ryan Strome. All these guys have one thing in common. They were all Tavares line mates who basically are okay to decent players, but they didn't give him a Marner. They didn't give him a top-line winger. And I'm sorry, after he paid his penance, he played 8 years there. How many more games does he have to give away of his career?
The issue here is not whether
Tavares paid his dues and had the right to do so. I don't think anyone questions that. Fandom is based on emotion. And the idea behind fandom is that they believe that as much of my emotional energy out of my pocketbook, out of my time that I invest in the team, I expect to see something come back from the players, because at the end of the day, they're the ones they see 82 games a year. They're the ones they watch. They're the ones who are paid to do things. It doesn't mean it's right. It doesn't mean it's equitable. It just means that's the way fandom works. And I think we're at a point with games and stuff right now that in the NHL, there's a weird sort of code of politeness about things, but you go to other sports, and I've been to baseball games, and I'm not a huge baseball guy, but I've been to baseball games where you hear guys ripping pitchers all game long. They're just standing there saying all sorts of cracks. Like, it's crazy. You go to football games. I've never, ever heard the things I've heard when I've gone to an NFL game before. I mean, there is nothing off limits. Nothing. It was
No.
I'm a fan of that. I don't think it's good.
And so I think we're at the point where, like with hockey, they're either going to take a stand and do it, because there's a scene in Vancouver that was really bad on the weekend, really bad. And I saw the video of it, and it was crazy. It was poorly handled by the stadium crew. And, you're either going to deal with it on the spot, one warning, next you're gone, like 2 strikes, right? Or you're going to allow things to degenerate to be a free-for-all. And I don't think anyone wants a free-for-all anymore, but you can't sit there and have things both ways. If you're the organization, if you're the host franchise, host location, you got to deal with it really quick and don't let it devolve. Because if it devolves, it gets like a snowball. It can start getting more and more. It becomes harder to deal with.
But Dan, to your point about I think that there was a level less of the vitriol this time around than it was on February 28th. They were throwing things at him, but this guy near the press box who was losing his mind. I mean, I could sense that it was less, that the booing and everything else was less, and of course, it was poetic justice, and I wrote about this on my blog today. It was poetic justice that Tavares scored the game-winning goal for the game that clinched the playoff spot for the Leafs. Now I believe they're tied in the same amount of points, and they pretty much stuck a fork in the Islanders winning top spot in the Metro. So, the Islanders fans are going to find fault in that, but it's like, that's fine if you don't like a player, and the fact that he left your organization, but the guy gave everything for 8 or 9 years, and I think he deserves to be respected. And I don't think many fan bases would act as ridiculously as the Islander fans have toward Tavares.
All right, guys, give me 5 minutes in the studio and 5 minutes.
Okay. So let me just continue this before we start the show here.
I want to just add one thing to this Tavares thing. The only equivalency I can see of vitriol that's done back right now, that it comes to recent memory, is with Winnipeg and Evander Kane. Right? So there's your comparison. When Evander Kane comes back, people are wearing tracksuits. They are all over that guy like it's nobody's business. What did Evander Kane do to deserve that? Anything less than John Tavares? It happens for all sorts of reasons, and there's no rationality to it. And that, I think, the point that it has to be reiterated over and over again. Fans do weird fan things because fans can. And until limits are put on, and I know teams are really reluctant to do it because it messes with the fan experience. And when things aren't good in your franchise, you want fans to come out. You don't want to remember, well, they squash fun. It's a real funny edged sword, but we're at that turning point, right?
I'll give you the side of the sword that I'm on, Peter. Like, I get what you're saying. You're right about fandom, all of that. You want to call a guy a loser if he's in the penalty box? If you want to say, go home, ha, 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 you stink, fine. But when a guy goes on like a 2-minute tirade, like, if I have a kid there, I don't want him hearing all that. I don't want him growing up to be that.
And so, Russ, and that's my point. You either let it become a free-for-all, or you deal with it quick. Because the other problem is, what if you're the dad or whatever who's sitting there with his 8-year-old daughter, and the guy's using some rather iffy slurs, calling the guy, you know what, and saying stuff, which we all know happens. And all of a sudden you're like, I've had enough of this. I've got 3 inches on that guy. I'm going to take it into my own hands. My daughter's sitting here. I've got to show like that's what happened in Vancouver. A guy came up, knocked a guy's hat off, just went bonkers. And this is what'll happen at other times too. Well, and fans take things in their own hands. Well, Peter, you paid $200 for that ticket. You got a right, you feel entitled.
Yeah. Well, this is the. I mean, I was at the Sabres Columbus game on Sunday. It was a 6:00 start, so I think a lot of people, usually it's 7 or 7:30 on Sundays in Buffalo. So a lot of people went to that game, even though the Sabres are completely out of it. And there's a lot of discontent going on in Buffalo right now about Phil Housley and about the whole situation there. And the press box there is relatively close to the stand, so you can hear people saying what they're saying, and there was a lot of fire Housley chants, which they're justified. They're paying customers; they can say whatever they want. But there was a lot of over the top commentary as well, and that's the thing. It's like when you're a fan and you're paying good money for a ticket, you think you're entitled to basically heap as much vitriol as you possibly can, because it's like ungirding your soul. And I get that, because I've been in the stands as a fan, but I've never done that because I don't want to make a jackass out of myself. And that's what I think some of these fans are doing. It's like, okay, you can express yourself, but express yourself with a little class. Don't go over the top and start dropping F-bombs and things of that nature.
And this guy didn't even drop F-bombs, and I still felt like he was over the top. He didn't say one curse, but it was just the way he did it and the way it was just accepted that I didn't like.
I agree.
We're good now, right?
Okay. Yep, we're good. You can do the start of the show, and Jan, follow me.
Apologize for that, guys. Just a whole bunch of
let's
move on.
Let's just go.
Here we go. Hello, Hockey World. It's Tuesday, April 2nd, 2019.
I'm Michael Agello on location in an undisclosed place.
Could be undisclosed as well.
Well done there, Mike. I'm Jan Levine.
I'm Peter Tessier in snowy Winnipeg again.
I'm Russ Cohen, who doesn't feel bad for Peter Tessier.
There we go. And I am Eklund, and you're watching HockeyBuzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com. This is a podcast that comes every Monday through Friday in the afternoons, usually, to fill you in on the comings and goings in the hockey world. And we are getting down to it now. We have basically tonight's a huge night, big games all over the map. Playoff seedings, last night we talked about Toronto gets the win, manages to hold the Islanders to 1 goal, which is a big deal because both sides for the Maple Leafs and the Islanders, the Maple Leafs needed to finally get over the hump. And actually, the funny thing is that with that combined with the Bruins losing the other night to Detroit, actually gives at least a small chance of getting a home ice stack.
Yeah, dream the impossible dream. They're 4 points behind the Bruins with 3 games to go. So, I mean, I know that Mike Babcock paid lip service to it, but honestly, I think the more important thing here is to get some rest for your players. But he's going to play Garrett Sparks tonight and then Freddie Anderson the last 2 games. So, of course, Babcock is sticking with, Freddie Anderson had his best game in over a month, and it was a game after he had 4 days rest. So, of course, he's going to play the last 2 games of the regular season. It's just, I don't get it.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, I don't either. And I mean, I think that as this plays out now, what I did today, if you go to my blog, is kind of fun thing to do because we have the wild card in the East is now super tight. And, really, we talked about, you can predict games, project games and all that kind of stuff. But, what I wanted to do today was kind of go through game by game by game. There's 9 games left for each of these teams have 3 games to play. And it was fascinating. What I did is I went through them all. We don't have to do that, but you can read my blog and do that. And there's some interesting things that played out where Columbus actually finished in 7th with 100 points roughly. That would be winning their last 3 games, which is, not out of the question, but not, definite by any chance. I mean, these are games that are all winnable for them. But the other thing that came out that was fascinating was Carolina came out winning, going 1-0-2, and Montreal going 2-0-1. And if that was to happen, Carolina and Montreal would end up with the same exact record, along with the same exact ROWs, which would put them into a position where the next thing would be head to head.
Yeah.
Which if you remember, and they both won the first 2 games they split, and then last Sunday Carolina won in overtime 2-1. So Carolina would get the playoff spot if Montreal and Carolina were to finish with that in that scenario with exactly the same record.
Well, it's funny. It's funny that the Leafs are going to have a really important part in this wild card battle because Carolina plays in Toronto tonight, and the Leafs finish out the schedule in Montreal on Saturday. And it seems to me that the way things are going, they're doing everything to screw the Canadians because Garrett Sparks, who has lost 7 of his last 8 games, is playing against Carolina tonight on the second of back-to-back games, and Freddie Anderson will start in Montreal. So I don't think they're doing it on purpose, but it feels like they're doing it on purpose.
Yeah, I do want to mention too. The Islanders signed Mason Jobst from Ohio State, really good center. I know some people are looking at this sort of weirdly because they're like, "Well, he's 25." Yeah, well, guess what? He might walk right into the lineup now because he's 25. He's good on faceoffs, and Val Filppel is hurt. So this could be a hell of a signing because you're going to sort of throw him in there, see how he looks, and he's going to fill a role at the end of the year. If he looks good, he could stay on that team. So it all depends on him, but he's got pretty good speed, and I think he and like I said, he's good on faceoffs, good, decent scorer. He's not going to light it up, but he has the ability to score. I think it's a great signing by the Islanders.
No, it is a really good signing by the Islanders. I mean, the great thing, and I think, am I sound all messed up? Am I totally messed up?
No, you're fine.
Okay, I'm looking okay to you guys. All right,
you're okay.
Okay, because to me, I'm frozen completely. Anyway, I don't know what's going on with my computer. So yeah, I mean, so the Carolina gets that, and then also there's rumors today about Fox possibly signing with the Rangers.
Yeah.
Which is
well, he can't.
Well, he's got to get traded first.
Get traded
there was a myriad of tweets, depending on who you hold. LeBrun, I think McKenzie, I think Friedman, I think Brooks all weighed in terms of burning the ELC, whether or not when he signs or not.
Right.
Now they can still make a trade even though the deadline is passed because
absolutely, they can. Yeah, he's just going to be able to play. That's the only difference.
But the thing that LeBrun brought up yesterday, and I actually talked with him this morning at the morning skate here at Scotiabank Arena, was the fact that they're not going to give away Fox for nothing. They want to get something in return. And the thing is, what do you give? What does the Rangers give to Carolina for Fox? And the thing is, they're in a bad negotiating position because Fox could simply say, "I'll stay at Harvard for another year and go to UFA on August 15th, and you'll get nothing for me." But the thing is, he wants to sign now. He wants to start his career and burn a year on the 3-year ELC. So I mean, there's a balance there. I mean, does a second round pick do it? Does trading a prospect?
I'm not giving up a second round pick, honestly. Whoa. I'm not giving up a third round pick because honestly, Carolina has very little leverage in this case. And again, they want to do something in the 4th, 5th round.
What Mike said, though. I mean, he will go back to Harvard.
He'll go back. They have the leverage they have is he wants to start his career immediately. That's all wonderful and good. He also can say, you know what, you can send me anywhere, and I'm not signing it. Everybody knows that already, and he's just going to sit there and go, you know what, I'll wait to 2020. I'll burn my ELC next year.
To do.
He doesn't want to do it, but he can do it. He can do it, Fox. He doesn't have to sign with anybody.
Right. But he's not going to do it. If the Rangers trade for him,
the Rangers trade, he will sign with them. Anybody else, he's not signing with them. So that diminishes the amount of leverage Carolina may think they have.
But hold on. But John, look at what the Rangers have in terms of assets in draft picks that they can trade.
Right. I know that.
So
why give up an asset for something you don't have to?
Okay, because
they want him now.
And I'm not giving up a second or third rounder to get him now.
But hold on. What you've got all draft picks are lottery tickets based on odds. And you increase your odds by the quality of your scouting department and research. So what are the odds that the Rangers can get Fox with one of those picks that say Carolina is asking for, and they're going to negotiate? So Carolina's going to just say ask for first, and they're going to negotiate and go back and forth. What are the odds that they can get that player with that pick ready to come in and start playing next season? Pretty slim. I think it's a good use of assets that you've acquired for other players that aren't there.
Yes, for as good as Fox is, he's also a crapshoot.
Well, okay. Let me just ask this though. I'm fairly sure that I'm right on this. If Fox says I'm turning pro now, even today, he says I'm turning pro. I'm leaving Harvard. I'm turning pro. I believe he's a UFA on August 15th. Then
No.
Yes,
he's not.
he would be. Yes, he would
Is
be.
he?
Yeah.
Yes, he would be. Now, the only thing that he loses there is the ability to burn the first year of entry level.
I don't know if he has to be a senior. Let's see. He might have to be though.
Right. I've heard of players who were juniors that did that said they were turning pro. So
Yeah.
I mean, I think
turning pro and going UFA, that's two different things though.
Yeah.
right. I mean, if that's the case, then yes, he would have to go back to Harvard for his senior year, and then
I believe everything said he has to go back to Harvard for a year to be UFA.
Okay.
He's turning pro. It means he signs to the team that retains his rights, which is Carolina.
Right, but if he's
all right, you know what it is? There's an age thing attached with it, which he's not going to hit. That's the confusing part. So he would have to go back.
Yeah, or he could go to Europe. He could go to Switzerland. He could go to Sweden, or he could go to the KHL.
The only reason that happens is because Waddell is just being moronic. It makes no sense for Carolina to play hardball in this, simply because they can get something for him. And what does Tom Dundon love more than anything now? These $70 million poor as of today is a draft pick that he can control salary with.
Right.
For these two teams to get caught up in this kind of bickering and silliness around the level of a draft pick when the Rangers have tons it's just a disservice to logic is what it is. Make a deal, get on with it.
Here's what I would say though, honestly. If Jan, if you're worried about giving up a second round pick because you don't know if he can make it, a second round pick, if you wanted to even just get a defenseman, you're going to have a 30% chance of him becoming an NHLer, and if he does, it's going to be in 5 years.
Right.
A developed guy who's played internationally, I would say there's a 75% chance he'll make it in the NHL based on I've seen him play for the last 4 years and internationally. So I don't know what the holdup would be on that. If it were me, I would get him now. I don't care about burning the year of ELC. If I looked at my own blue line, the Rangers blue line, it's awful. I could get Neil Pionk out of there right away. Just hold on. And you already get a guy who is at NHL strength, at NHL speed, and you could start teaching him now. If you play this other game, you are going to wait until 2020, and that doesn't behoove anybody. Now, on the Carolina side, trading for this kid, we talked about it. I did feel like there was a pretty good chance he was going there. I was hearing that. So obviously something must have changed, and I don't know if it changed with Fox just saying, you know what, I just want to be a Ranger more than I want to play anywhere else, or was it on the Carolina end like, hey, we don't want to burn a year of ELC. Right. And so, we'll leave that up to Tom or Don Waddell to come out and say with that.
It could be that, Russ. It could also be bonuses on the contract because that's the only difference between one team and another when you're bidding for a UFA like a VC is the willingness to offer the Schedule A and Schedule B bonuses. And if that's the case, then Tom Dundon is a cheapskate billionaire, which there are more than a few of them, so that's not that unusual. But I mean, honestly, I looked at the situation, and I'm not patting myself on the back because it could have gone the other way very easily. I looked at the situation, and you saw how deep the Carolina Hurricanes were on the blue line. I mean, they have 6 really good defensemen right now, plus Jake Bean, plus Hayden Fleury. They're really deep in that organization, and they may trade one of these veteran guys over the summer, but they're still going to be deep. And if Fox goes to the Rangers or to other couple teams, if he decides to wait until 2020 and test the market, he's going to be right in the NHL right away.
Yeah, I think he could have a Will Butcher kind of impact. I do.
Yeah, that's really. I mean, now the other news that came out yesterday, and it's edgy depending on how you listen. The rumor is basically on who you listen to. But apparently, Elliot Friedman has been saying quite a bit that he's hearing that Jeff Skinner will not return to Buffalo, right? And that this is absolutely And he's been, I don't know if he's been saying this on TV or wherever, but I definitely keep talking to people who said, yeah, Elliot Friedman doesn't think said he's not coming back yesterday. Said he's not coming back.
Well, I mean that's a complete and utter disaster for the Sabres, and the fact that that's the case just shows. I mean, I was out, like I said, I was at the Columbus Buffalo game and talked to some reporters there on Sunday, and the level of dysfunction that's going on in the locker room there. The uncertain status of Phil Housley. You mentioned yesterday about the uncertain status of possibly Botterill being on possibly losing his job after 2 years. I mean, this is really symptomatic of the Pegula administration with both the Bills and the Sabres, where this flight of fancy, where every couple of years, if things aren't going right, they're going to fire the GM, fire the coach. And it's like you can't run professional sports organizations like that, where you're changing every 2 years. It's a recipe for disaster, and the fan base is fed up.
Yeah, you got to find somewhere between the Pittsburgh Steelers and that, right? Like,
yeah,
you got to find some stability. This is why I think the problem with Buffalo is you get the energy of the Pegula family coming in, right? When they bought the franchise, they started spending money. They gave fans a reason for optimism, but they were like sailors on shore leave. And next thing you know, you realize it's not just as simple as throwing dollars at things. And that's
what do sailors do on shore leave? Please tell us.
They go to the bar, Russ, and they spend money.
Oh my God! Well,
I don't know what your sailors do.
Yeah, they sing YMCA, but no. This is the thing. This is the thing in terms of the Sabres right now. You're talking about your second best scorer in Skinner, who's got I think 36 goals right now, but the Sabres, he hasn't scored a goal in a quarter of a season. He hasn't scored a goal in over 20 games, or it's like one goal in 20 games. He's been stuck at 36 since February. So he, whatever magic he had sort of ran out. And at a certain point, he was looking for an 8-year deal for, $8 million, $8.5 million, and his leverage went out the window. Now, from what I heard just around town, it was like they didn't want to pay him 8 years. They wanted to pay him a shorter term. I don't think he's getting 8 years in free agency, or obviously he's not going to get 8. But I don't think he's going. I don't think he's going to get 7 anywhere. He may get 6 because he's 26 years old, but he is an old 26 with concussion issues, and he's a quick player, so he fits with the type of game that the league is right now. But again, you're worried about wear and tear, and he's been in the league since 18, so that's a concern. But I mean, honestly, it's an absolute killer for the Sabres if Skinner walks away, and what are they going to spend their money on? They're dropping at least $10 million off the cap next year with Pominville and Matt Molson. Oh yeah, okay.
Well, I mean, if this is true and this works out this way, then Buffalo will trade his rights and they'll get like a 3rd round pick, and they'll have to deal with that. They did get him to at least develop with Eichel. And that's a valuable thing. They got a year with them, so that keeps it from being a complete disaster.
But Russ, this
didn't give up much either.
This is the big problem, because remember last summer when the Sabres traded for Skinner, the intent was to rent him and to flip him at the deadline and get assets for him. Then he has a great year, and they say we want to keep him. And at the deadline, they don't even shop him anywhere. Now, if he walks away, this was a missed opportunity to get assets for him, and you missed the opportunity to sign him. So if
you're the Pegulas and you want to take a stock of that situation, Mike, and you go, it's a missed opportunity. Okay, so first you've identified it was a missed opportunity. Let's go through the process. Now you go, why was it identified as why do we identify it now, and what did we miss when we had the chance? And then you go and say, okay, where does this lead to? Does it lead to Botterill? Does it lead to Kim? Does it lead to organizational structure? At some point, someone's going to have to either cover their butt or stick their neck out. And I think that's where the problem with the Sabres is that there's been too much of both happening and not more of one or the other. And so the cycle continues, because eventually if someone's covering their butt for the decision making, and then others are getting their heads lopped off because they're inadvertently or unknowingly sticking them out or being identified, you've got a bigger problem, right? And I think that's what we're seeing with the Sabres. Look, I don't think any team is going to go harder after Skinner than LA. I think they're going to go all in on him because he's one of the few they can do that they'll take the risk on. I mean, they don't care about concussions. Look at Dustin Brown. Like, bring it on, right?
Yeah, but look what's happened, Peter, with the long-term contracts that they've signed. They've now kind of hamstrung the team. I mean, Kovalchuk right now, you got $6.5 million. You can't even do anything with. It's going to count against the cap.
If I was to venture a guess, I would say, that Skinner in Ottawa is a really good possibility, because I think I really do. I'm talking to people around Skinner and talking to him himself in the past. Obviously his first choice would be Toronto. There's no ways about it. But Toronto can't afford him, and they'd have to make huge concessions to get Skinner in there. But I don't see him as a West Coast guy. I don't know. That's my opinion.
Well, I mean, the thing that makes sense though with LA is the fact that they're a team that's desperately in need of speed, and he would be somebody that would improve the team speed. I'll tell you who I think would be a good fit, and they have a ton. They're going to have a ton of cap space because everybody else is going to walk, and they're going to have a whole left wing. Is Columbus? I mean, he could be the Panarin replacement with the Blue Jackets.
The Islanders are a possibility.
The only thing about the Islanders is if it gets to the point where 2 or 3 teams are bidding on Skinner, which I'm sure it'll be that or more, are they really going to come in with the top bid? I don't think so.
Yeah, but the problem is, Russ, as we discussed, they need scoring.
Yeah, but
desperately, they desperately need a scoring.
I know, but again, we have to remember they have a budget, and they're not going past that budget until their arena breaks ground. If their arena doesn't break ground, are they going to spend top dollar on Jeff Skinner? I don't know about that.
Well, but by July 1, we may know that. We may know whether or not that they've gotten all the pieces to break ground.
I do think they will full force.
Oh, by January, Jan.
Yeah, well, this is Long Island. You know how we work out here.
One at a time. I just do think. I do think that I know for a fact the Islanders and Lou Lamoriello are going to go full force for Panarin. So they do have a budget, but at the same time, they also realize the significance of getting a superstar. So
they could go for him, Eck, but I'm talking about you have to outbid everybody. Islander fans don't want to hear about their team just going for and being in on a guy anymore.
Oh, I know.
They want them to land the guy.
But that they've got a shot. I mean, they've got. I mean, obviously, Florida's got a great shot at Panarin. We've talked about that a lot. That's who they're going to target. Panarin apparently does want to go there. The Islanders have a lot to offer too, because they have the great the whole Russian community out there.
Mm-hmm.
That helps. It definitely helps for Russia.
But getting back to Skinner, I just right now I think if you're Buffalo, you have to look at it, and they're not a destination team. Now, there have been times in the NHL when they were, because they had a ton of talent there. Hasek was in that and everything else. They're probably 3 years away from being a destination team. So right now, what are they, like the 18th most attractive team? Agents are going to look at that and say, look at everything they have, look at what they could do. And someone like Skinner probably looked at it and said, well, unless they do X, Y, and Z, I don't know if they're competing for the next.
The problem with Skinner is he's got the intimate knowledge of what's going on there. So Correct. If there is some stench around there, he's lived it. He's seen it. Yes. He's like, yeah, this place is not getting sorted out. And we all know things seep out, right? He's not, he's talking to his buddies in Carolina, like, hey, you know what? You don't want to come here. Bad news. You got your guy you play junior with over on God knows where. They all hear it. And they know, and they talk, and agents talk too.
Yeah, no, it's definitely seeped out. I mean, I've been hearing it just secondhand over the last couple months. I mean, there's definitely a problem in the locker room, and we clearly see over the last month or so that the team has quit on Housley. Now, do I think Housley is completely at fault for this? No, I don't. But it's the old adage about you can't fire 20 players, you can fire one coach. But they're not talking. Friedman said in his 31 Thoughts today that if they fire Housley, which he doesn't think Botterill wants to do, that the guy who's probably the replacement for him is Chris Taylor, their American Hockey League coach. But you're okay, now you're talking about depriving Taylor, if they fire Housley and bring Taylor in, of his number one goal scorer, and you've got Eichel and Reinhardt and Ristolainen, who is another guy that's talked about being traded. I mean, you keep trading or losing your talented players. It's a circle of futility.
They need an intervention because, Mike, when you present it that way, they need an intervention. And you know what they're doing? They're turning into Edmonton. That's what they're doing. And you know what? The NHL should send an interventionist in and say, "Okay, guys, we're taking you to hockey management rehab. We don't want you to end up like the wasteland of the North, Edmonton, and get all messed up like that." Like, they need someone to come in and say, "This is where you're going." It's like an episode of Hoarders.
I don't guarantee that Housley gets fired. I don't think that's guaranteed.
No, it's not. I think you guys are blowing this Buffalo situation way out of hand, way out of proportion. I really do. I mean, I think that Buffalo, yes, they're granted they aren't making the playoffs, but you have to, and the Sabres fans are very impatient about this, but they are.
You have to admit, even next year, probably not making the playoffs either.
They haven't made the playoffs in 8 years.
But they are moving forward. They are getting better. Their young talent is coming. They do have prospects, if I'm not mistaken, right, Russ?
May I go back in time to when I was actually covering the New York Rangers in New York every game, practically, and they hadn't made the playoffs in 8 years, and James Dolan gave everybody a discount on their tickets. Buffalo's not going to do that. So Ranger fans were in that same spot the Sabres fans were back then. It's a bad spot to be in as a fan and as a franchise. It is.
Oh,
yeah. Toronto. Sorry, go ahead.
That's a terrible spot. It's a great It's a great organization, though. Like, I mean, not a great. I mean, it is a real. I mean, you can sit there and say it's not a great organization, but it's a
great hockey town.
Players want to play in Buffalo. It's not a tough place to sell people on. And no matter what you say, it absolutely. I mean, and maybe you're from there, Mike. You know, but I tell you, I talk to people around the league, and that's a place that they are okay with going to. They like it there because they realize the fan base. It's like often said, like playing Canadian City without the Canadian City pressure to a degree. That's the common thing with Buffalo.
See, I don't agree with the fact. I mean, you're right in the sense that it's a great hockey town, and a lot of players who come here end up staying here after their career, and a lot of players who played other places come here and stay, you know, because it's the proximity to Canada. But the problem is, Zach, that this is a team that right now has been so dysfunctional over the last few years that I don't know. You know, it's like, okay, you have to overspend on Kyle Opozo to get him to sign a deal. You have to overspend, and you know, okay, you've got cap space, but now you've lost. If this report is true, and Skinner is not coming back, so now okay, you've got Eichel, you've got Reinhardt, and I don't know if you have another top six forward on this roster.
I mean, I'll say this. I mean, I think obviously, Elliot Friedman knows what he's talking about. He's one of the more connected guys, right? But I really do think that there is gamesmanship at play here because I think that Skinner will come back for the right price. He didn't hate it. I mean, he and Eichel got along really well. This was a situation where, you know, he obviously excelled as a player. It's a great spot for him because players like good spots. I mean, he could go places where he could have a lot less success than Buffalo.
Well,
personally.
What I think is at play here, Eck, is I think that Skinner will go to the 5-day negotiating window before July 1st. Yeah. He'll see what's out there. He'll talk to other teams. He'll see what they're offering, and then he could come back to Buffalo and say, okay, you want to give me 8 years at so and so? Let's do it. And if they say no, we'll give you 6 or 7, then he might sign someplace else. He's got to use that leverage because I mean. Terry, the Sabres under Terry Pegula. I spoke to somebody on Sunday, and he says they don't believe in buyouts. And this is a roster that right now has 2 or 3 guys that should be bought out yesterday. One of them being Peter's favorite defenseman, Zach Bogosian.
Might be wrong with this, Mike, but I mean Buffalo Sabres. I mean, no, they have a great season ticket base pretty much, and I mean, I guess you can get tickets now, right? You probably can.
Yeah, one of the season ticket base used to be me, but I smartened up.
Right, but they have. I mean, but they definitely there were moments there where they had a huge, like what I remember from the second lockout was
they had a waiting list.
Had a waiting list, but
not anymore
around the NHL. because they were not charging very much. Like there are other teams. The other teams were very upset with the fact that they could sit there and say they have a waiting list, but their tickets are really cheap. So they were also claiming they needed revenue help because even though they had a waiting list. So that the issue was, that was really, there were a lot of owners who were like, come on, this is supply demand economics, guys.
Well, the ticket prices went up. I'll just give you an example. I had 2 seats in the 300 level, in the upper level, and the price was $2,100.
Okay, so what's that work out to a game roughly? What was that game?
$40 a game.
That's
45 to $50 a game.
That's how long ago?
2 years ago.
That's pretty insane. I mean, really, it is. When you talk about Peter, what are the tickets in Winnipeg?
It's the second highest average ticket price in the NHL. Lowest seat in the stadium is like $73.
Yeah, Philly's in the 50s.
There's fewer seats in Winnipeg. That's part
There's
of it.
fewer seats. So I think I have season tickets and I'm in the club section and I pay the highest average price outside the box holders. Like, it's insane.
Yeah, I mean,
and Toronto's got to be the highest. I know that a purple, the upper level ticket there is 95 Canadian, so that would be or close to 75 American. And the platinum's tickets near the glass are $500 each.
Yeah. I do have semi-breaking news. Jeff Blashill has signed a 2-year extension. So with Detroit, that's a good signing. It's also, though, we still want to see what you can do with this team signing. It's not a real long-term signing.
No, I read about this on the weekend because I had a source on this one, and I said that this was an important thing. The Red Wings, Holland really wanted to do this for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
And there were fans that aren't too happy about it. Like but at the same time, I think for Red Wings fans, I think this is kind of like a perfect compromise to a degree. Like a 2-year deal is in the NHL. Let's just say it's like a 1-year deal, basically. I mean, it's slightly better than a 1-year deal. The only thing with a 1-year deal is this is his last year. You don't have to sit there and say for the entire year this is last year of his contract, but they can fire him very easily, and it just has 1 year they have 1 year to pay.
And he
Boston could have entered into this with the understanding that I can have no job. Or I can have this opportunity, and they may have a real understanding of, Jeff, if it doesn't go the way we want, we're going to change you because we have to, not because of anything you've done, but because of what we've done. This gives them an extra year of security. So if it has to change, he's going to get another year paid anyways.
Right.
It's not a bad deal.
No, a 2-year deal is a golden parachute. That's what it is.
Yeah.
I will also say my best advice, if you're a Red Wings fan, watch the Frozen Four. Philip Larson, the goalie for University of Denver, is one of your guys. He's 20 years old. He's a Swedish goalie, and he's very good. That could be your next guy.
Yeah.
I have to bring this up back because I heard the audio of this yesterday. The Connor McDavid post-game interview where I think it was an Edmonton reporter who told them that with the loss they had been mathematically eliminated from the playoffs, and McDavid basically said he didn't even realize that until he had said it to him. But the level of frustration that you could hear in McDavid's the tone of his voice. I'm sorry. They keep doing this for a couple more years. It may not be him because he's a good kid, and I think he wants to make things work in Edmonton. But his agent or his father or somebody is going to say, "Get me the hell out of this hellhole."
It could happen in like 2 more years. I don't think it's impossible.
I think if it doesn't show any kind of improvement next year, it's next off season. And I don't know who McDavid's agent is. Is it Brisson?
Yeah, it is Brisson, yeah.
If you're Pat Brisson, you sit down with Bob Nicholson or whoever, and you actually, you don't even go to Bob Nicholson. You go to Daryl Case and you say, look, all Connor has to do is say, I'm done, and walk away.
It's Bobby Orr. It's Bobby Orr. That's
Bobby
his
Orr.
agent.
Bobby Orr. And you got to sit down and say that to him.
Right,
and you will never, ever sign another player. Because if Connor McDavid walks away, it's over for Edmonton. It's done. If you make it so bad that his only option as the captain and generational talent, best generational talent since Sidney Crosby, one of the elitist levels of talent we've ever seen put on skates. And he says, I've had enough. You might as well shut the franchise down because no one will want to go there ever. That's how perilous that will become if Connor McDavid quits on them. That's the only bargaining chip he has. And if I'm Bobby Orr and his agent and his family and stuff, I give Daryl Cates directly to Daryl a year to clean this up, and I even want Bobby to have some say in it, or whoever else is on his team, because you can't trust that Daryl will get it right either.
Right. No, it's true. I just got a text from a friend in Nashville who said the Predators tickets, the cheapest tickets you can get for a pair, would be like $3,200. So you're looking at like, you know, that's a lot more than, you know, and we're talking about Nashville.
Well, you know what the reason is? The reason is because there's so many musicians there that are now taking in games because it's fun. They've really raised the price.
Yeah. Do you get free hot?
Say that, Russ, because you know one of the reasons that I know, like the Craig Leopold, the former owner in Nashville, decided he couldn't take it anymore there, and he went to Minnesota, was because he at that point could not get the music industry to buy in. That was
now.
I think, well, the individuals, yes, the music industry itself still, you know, not quite. I think that
many of these folks are going to games, though. A lot of them.
Oh, they are. More of them are for sure, and you know, more of the famous ones are. But I think in the cheap seats and stuff like that, you're talking about people, you know, people in the Nashville area.
Yeah, but what you're missing out on is included in that $3,200 is you get free hot chicken.
I don't think there is any parking at that arena. You know, so I don't know. It's. I mean, like I said before, it's the best place to watch hockey in the NHL. You got to go if you can. But yeah, you know, we're talking. So getting past Buffalo, and getting past Skinner and all this stuff. It is a fascinating thing how Skinner plays out. My instincts are that he is negotiating just to really just raise the price to stay in Buffalo. Like my instincts are he will stay in Buffalo, because I know the one place he really wanted to play, and he's very adamant about this and really open about it to anybody who would ask, was Toronto for years. You know, that's where he wanted to go. I really felt as if the Maple Leafs, and I wrote this last year, if the Maple Leafs had somehow moved Nylander and not gone for that and just said, okay, fine, you're gone, that maybe then Skinner would have been a possibility for them.
Well, I'm telling you. First of all, I think it would take two things for the Leafs and Skinner to actually happen. One would be the retirement of Patrick Marleau. If that happens, then they would trade the final year of his contract after they pay him the bonus and clear $6.25 million off their cap. The other would be the trade of Nylander to get a defenseman. That if both things happened, I think they would sign Skinner. But do I think both things will happen? No, I think Marleau is going to play the third year, but I still think they're trading Nylander because Nylander only has 26 points this year. The entire season was screwed up by him holding out until December the 1st. And if they lose to the Bruins in the first round, it will prove to Kyle Dubas and Leaf management that they will never win unless they improve their blue line.
I do want to Eck. I think what you got also was the real high-end pricing, because if you go to Ticketmaster and go with their resale, there's tickets available from $48 to $75, all on the 300 level.
I'll get
the season ticket highest, the cheapest. I went on their website. The cheapest. I just checked it out too. Was on the website. So that's. I mean, you're looking at resales for sure, and
No, they're all resales, but they're reasonable. They're reasonable.
Yeah, they're reasonable. I mean, you can get resale tickets. Really.
And get this for the Columbus game on Sunday. Friends of mine bought a pair of tickets in the 300 level at KeyBank Center, and the price of the two tickets were $12.
I got tickets for the Flyers this year while they were in a slump for $11 a piece for my son and daughter, just because they wanted to go one night. Yeah, I mean, it was, when I was in the press box, I sat them there up there and they went in there. I mean, StubHub is definitely one of those things you can easily get, get cheap tickets for when teams are out of it, for sure. I want to take a look real quick before we go again at this race, because there's a couple other questions I had about it for you guys. This race for the wild card. And tomorrow I want to talk about the race for the Central, because that's what I'm writing about tomorrow and how these games will play out. Because there are some Central games tonight, obviously, that are big too. So tonight, the fascinating thing is the top three teams in the Atlantic are playing the three teams in the wild card race, which is fun. So Boston at Columbus. You've got Tampa at Montreal, and you've got Toronto with Carolina in Toronto, right? So
and like I said yesterday, Tampa is definitely managing the situation because they're playing Eddie Pasquale against the Canadians.
But they are shooting for an all-time win record right now. Tampa is. I mean, they have this. I was hearing this morning. What's the number they have here? They have a chance if they win 2 of their last 3. I think. I'm gonna find out exactly. But there is a record that Tampa actually has a shot at.
Yeah, but the ultimate prize is the Stanley Cup. Who remembers the Seattle Mariners setting the win record that year when they lost in the playoffs? So,
I mean, and I don't. I mean, this is going to be. I mean, Tampa's just playing so well. Montreal's lost 5 in a row to Tampa, but their defense has gotten a lot better. But then Carolina at Toronto. This is going to be this to me is a good one. Like this is the game you're going to watch, Mike, and this is going to be fascinating because Carolina has a lot more offense, than say the Islanders have.
I'm predicting a Carolina victory. Garrett Sparks is a sieve.
And you got Garrett Sparks there too.
He's lost 7 of his last 8 games, and I said on Twitter a couple days ago, the Leafs better pray for the health of Frederik Andersen because if Frederik Andersen gets hurt, their starting goaltender in the playoffs will not be Garrett Sparks; it'll be Michael Hutchinson.
So let's all just do for fun here, real quickly. Let's prognosticate these games just for a win. You can give a win, loss, or an overtime point, just for fun. Okay. So just to go through this, so real quickly. So Tampa at Montreal. We'll go Jan, Mike, Peter, Russ. Jan?
I'm going to go Montreal.
Montreal? Mike?
Montreal.
Peter?
Oh, Montreal.
Russ?
Tampa.
Yeah, I got Tampa too. I'm going with Tampa in that one. So we got 3 out of 3. That's not bad. Carolina, Toronto. You already said Carolina, Mike.
Carolina.
Jan?
Carolina.
Okay. Peter?
Carolina.
Russ?
Toronto.
Toronto, okay. I'm going with Carolina. I think it's overtime game though. I think it's tight. So then
Mr. Contrarian.
No. You know what? Because I'm looking at trends and Sparks isn't going to lose every game and they're coming off a good win and I'm going with that. Thank you, Mike.
The record in second of back-to-back is horrendous, but okay.
It doesn't matter.
Boston at Columbus. Jan.
I'm going to go Boston, actually. I love the way Columbus is playing. I just have a hunch that Boston's going to win tonight.
Yeah, you think they're going to win somewhere. Good. Mike?
Oh, I'm Mike?
Mike's muted. Peter?
I'm going Boston.
Boston, Russ?
I am going to go with Columbus because, honestly, Bob has really gotten it together this month. He has been great.
Yeah,
but in March he did. So
I'm with you on Columbus on this one too. I kind of think that this is Columbus, but Boston has not played well. The amazing thing is that Boston and Toronto have both played so poorly lately that it's incredible. Like me, that Toronto still has a chance of geting home ice advantage with how well they play.
Well, they really don't. But this is the thing. Tuukka Rask has not played well lately, so there's just as much concern in Boston about Rask than there is about Anderson and him being tired in Toronto. But Tuukka Rask has risen to the occasion in the playoffs before, and I know if we had Ty on the show, he would basically say, he's the lead defense attorney for the Tuukka Rask fan club. So I think it's basically even when it comes to Toronto and Boston. But I don't know if I dropped off there for a second. I'll pick Columbus. I think Columbus.
So we actually had I think we went 3-3 or no 3-2 Columbus for that one.
Yep.
All right, so if you're a Montreal Canadiens fan tonight, there's something you want to do. Obviously, you got to hope that they can beat Tampa, which you guys seem to think they can. I'm not. Three of the two. But really, what you want tonight, the honest thing you want tonight, if you're a Canadiens fan, is this: you want one of these things to happen. You want the Penguins or the Islanders. The Penguins are playing the Red Wings. The Islanders are playing the Panthers. One of them to lose 1 point. Okay, because if the Islanders were to say just like to get a single point and not beat the Red Wings have won 5 in a row, remember? So if they were to go to overtime against the Red Wings even, that clinches the division for the Capitals. If that happens, Montreal's next game is against the Capitals on Thursday night, and so therefore, like, what's going to happen is Montreal can win tonight. Then they've got because they've got Tampa, Washington back to back. That's a tough. Your last three, Tampa, Washington.
It's not up to Montreal whether Tampa's going to play well or not.
Oh yeah, no, I know.
They can't control that. If Tampa's got their best game going, their A game going, Montreal's in trouble.
I think Montreal is in trouble tonight. I think Montreal can get a point out of this game. That's like that's a real.
That's the best. I think that's the best they can hope.
Best case scenario too, and then hope that Washington has nothing to play for on Thursday. That it gets to the point where they've got first place wrapped up, and then
you'll get Phoenix Copley in that instead of Holtby. Right.
The Capitals are a Stanley Cup team. If they've got they were Stanley Cup champion, they're not going to care how their last two games go. They're going to just allow that. They'll allow that to go through and let Montreal go through. Now, the fascinating thing is if you're a Montreal fan now, if that happens and say you get a point tonight and you get 2 points maybe out of, or you say you get 3 out of 4 points out of Tampa, Washington, or whatever it is. Your last game is against Toronto, like we talked about. And this game is now, that game always means something because it's Toronto, Montreal.
And it would fill my heart with joy if the Leafs eliminated the Canadiens. That would be a beautiful thing.
Here's an interesting thing. So that same night, the final night comes down to Carolina playing on Saturday night against the Flyers in Philadelphia.
Which sounds like a win right now.
Which sounds like a win to Carolina, but here's the thing. Historically, Russ, when a team has a chance to win its final game of the season, they often do. Like,
did you watch last game?
Oh, I know. Believe me. And
I'm just saying.
But I'm just saying that Philly is not a terrible team. Philly was eliminated by Carolina, could possibly be having a chance to eliminate Carolina in that game, and could be. And also this is the last chance for a lot of these players before the end of the season. The only way, the old joke is the only way you win your final game of the season is you win a Stanley Cup or you don't make the playoffs, right?
Yeah, I'm going to say the over under for Sebastian Aho for goals in that game against Philly is 3.
Right.
Can we just bring up the oddest trade?
Let me just finish this trade for a second, okay? Hold on. You okay? Yeah, I know. 1 second. Sorry. The 4:30 then. Sorry. Finish this train of thought. I apologize. Montreal is now playing Toronto in the final game. The Flyers are playing Carolina. That could play out because I believe Columbus will actually get that 7th spot. I think that's where they're going to go. So then you come down to this final game, and although Toronto will want to beat Montreal because you want to knock Montreal out of the playoffs for sure, should they want to beat Montreal? Because the honest to God truth here is Montreal has by far a better record and I think a better chance than Carolina has against Tampa.
No, I disagree completely.
I mean, and I think want to keep Montreal in and get Tampa out.
I disagree completely because it's Carey Price against the world.
It's Carey Price or it's Mrazek. Think about what you're dealing with here. Like you got Mrazek or McElhinney. You've got
Tampa's beating either one of them. It doesn't matter.
Probably are, but you could end up screwing themselves essentially in this situation by eliminating Montreal. Like they could actually end up.
No.
Remember, Toronto has won 7 in a row against Montreal, right? At least I only went 7 back.
Right now, Toronto needs to be concerned with one thing, and they have to be focused on one thing: beating Boston. They're not factoring in anything else. They have to focus on that. Otherwise, they're going to end up being eliminated in the first round and answering questions about why you couldn't beat Boston for the 3rd time in a row.
Right. And here's I agree. Here's the tough thing. Then I'll end. Here's the tough thing about this whole thing is that then you guys can talk. I just apologize. Boston Columbus night, which we know Russ and I both think could be a real tough game for Columbus, because Columbus has won 5 in a row, and they've are they going to go out? I mean, I do think at the end of the day they could win the rest of they could win out here and win 8 in a row, but it's unlikely that happens. It's likely that they fall 1 game here, and Boston, if they win tonight, they do clinch 2nd place, or they could so that. There's something the Bruins have something to play for tonight. That's why it's a tougher. It's why this is a fascinating situation because you don't have a whole lot of throwaway games, and even New Jersey, who plays Carolina, has dominated Carolina, and New Jersey is in the same boat where they're going to be in the same position where they're going to be playing for their last game of the season. So Carolina's last 2 games, New Jersey, Philly, sound easy? Not necessarily.
Well, I know we have to.
I just want to say Sebastian Aho for 3 years is a point a game against Philly.
Oh yeah.
I know we have to end shortly, but I needed to bring this up because this was included in our group chat yesterday, and I'm still shaking my head at this. This is the Cam Talbot for Anthony Stolarz deal could be the weirdest deal in the history of the league in the sense that, okay, Philadelphia trades for Cam Talbot and doesn't play him, and he's a UFA, but they play the guy they're going to not sign in Brian Elliott. And Anthony Stolarz gets traded to Edmonton to be the backup to Koskinen. And what does he play? 2 games, and he needs to play one more to be a restricted free agent instead of a UFA, and they're not going to play him, so he's going to walk away for nothing.
What teams agree on this or something like that ahead of time and say, "Oh, we'll just take the players back next year"? What's going on? I mean, I agree with you, Mike. It's very strange.
Like, if nothing else, you would play him that game so you could get some sort of asset out of it.
Yeah, I mean,
you lost an asset here, and I just don't believe in a team should bleed assets like that, especially when you're trying to rebuild like Edmonton.
Is he ARB eligible? Is that maybe why they're not doing it? Because obviously you can't walk away depending on what the arbitration award is. So
he's a group 6 unless he plays a certain amount of games.
Then he becomes unrestricted, but if not, he becomes restricted, which depends if he has ARB rights. That may be driving why they don't want to play him.
He's being paid less than $1 million, I believe. Yeah. So
not much to go on as far as arbitration.
Right. It's utterly amazing because they did the opposite with Montoya.
Right.
Like it's and and there have been some really interesting, some smart people in the Edmonton media who I saw this tweet from that I sent to our chat.
Yeah.
And again, it's like they're trying to make sense of it. And they're having a very rational conversation about it, but you can sort of see underneath the surface of it, there's a little bit of that weird Edmonton media thing where there's sort of there's a protectionist attitude to the team, because at some point you just can't go and say everyone in that organization is completely out of touch. But that's really what these things point to.
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
It really doesn't make any sense. And I mean, the whole idea of getting Talbot here was, he was a mentor to Carter Hart and all this and everything, that Carter Hart, worked with him in the summer. And now, I mean, this all points to Gordon being gone, it completely, it actually, to me, leads more credence to Gordon being gone, because Gordon, I mean, I don't think this was Fletcher's plan.
But I don't think they can release or tell Gordon he's gone until they have something definite. So Gordon could still end up coming back.
Yeah,
they don't get anybody definite.
No, I agree. But this is, and Gordon, to his credit, I mean, knows that. So Gordon knows that Talbot's been picked up for that reason, and still goes with Elliott. It's bizarre. It's like going against GM who's trying to hire. To his credit, I mean, Gordon just going off of what he's feeling there, and Gordon I was told by the players, the thing they do like about him is he very much rewards hard work and practice and stuff like that and things like that. And Elliott was just worked harder and appeared more into it, and Talbot didn't appear to be into it. That's what
I don't know if I'm buying that. This is Cam Talbot we're talking about. I will vouch for him and what he is about. I'm not buying that. But also, just remember, Mike Yeo is always a phone call away.
I know. I think we're going to see a ton of changes in management and coaches this summer. I think that we're going to have the weirder summers that we've ever seen. And I'm telling you, I've heard some GMs, I'll throw this out there before we get out of here. But I mean, I've heard some GMs that were just hired in the last 2 years, 2 of them at least right now that are in trouble. The GMs that you never expect a GM to get moved that quickly out. But 2 of them that are in trouble, and usually
you mentioned it yesterday.
Yeah, I talked about it after the show.
Oh, no,
on the air. But yeah, it's there's no question that this is happening, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that the GM getting fired that quickly is not about player movement, it's about other things, but because it takes the GM a while to get things going, right? So, all right. That's what I got, and so we'll see. But we'll talk more about that for sure in a little bit here. That we have a lot of changes. We have a lot of changes.
Well, how about Bruce Boudreau in Philadelphia?
Why don't we ever make changes on this show? Like everybody else.
Elaine Vigneault to Florida.
Heck, you're the biggest stand pack guy there is.
No, I just like people who work for free, Russ. That's what it's concerned with.
Oh, I'm not touching that one. Oh, we need another hour for that one there.
Remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey. We will talk to you tomorrow.